Welcome to the Armageddon TV YouTube channel. While the war between Ukraine and Russia turns into a huge fiasco for the Russian army and the Kremlin, Russian soldiers always find a way to humiliate Putin. This senseless war broke out because of Putin's unprovoked aggression and egoism, and now the Russian soldiers, fully aware of the situation, began to pursue their own interests and lives. Soldiers sent by the Russian army to the Ukrainian front state that they are trying to continue in inhumane living conditions as well as serious ammunition problems, and the response structure within the Russian army leads them to internal conflicts and uprisings. In particular, the soldiers from the autonomous regions of the Russian Federation refuse to fight, and the Russian commanders flee in the fear in the face of the courageous resistance of the Ukraine. There are also internal conflicts between the Wagner Group, which was hired for the Russian army, and Putin's special forces. One of the most important points in the turmoil in the Russian army is the non-payment or interruption of the wages promised to the soldiers sent voluntarily due to financial difficulties. This situation leads the Russian soldiers to raise the flags of rebellion against Putin. In the last few days, another detail has emerged, which is horrifying for the Kremlin. The fact that Russian senior officers were selling their war ammunition and weapons on the black market astonished the whole world. We have also seen that Russian soldiers surrendered by selling their tanks and armored vehicles to the Ukrainian army. This information given by an anti-terrorism and war expert stunned both the Russian side and the Ukrainian side. The Russians seem to have completely given up hope on the war. Russian troops have reached the level to sell their weapons and other military ammunition. They have no hope for war. They are at the last level of rebellion against Putin. As in the old Russian period, corruption does not stop. This corruption scandal has spread to the military field even during the war period. Corruption, which is customary for Russians, is now led by high-ranking Russian dignitaries. In the 2000s, former Russian Defense Minister Sergei Ivanov stated that the chief duty of the Ministry of Defense was to stop the traffic of theft in the army. These corruption problems, which the Russians have clearly turned into a disease that needs to be treated, are now at the top of the Russian armed forces. Another striking detail is that the Russian frontline troops sent to Ukraine were untrained in the military field. It turned out that the members of the Russian army, newly recruited to the Russian army or newly sent to the war in Ukraine, were inadequate and untrained for the war. Putin is so insane that he sends his own soldiers to the battlefield to commit suicide. The ignorant and untrained soldiers either rebel against Putin and wave the white flag, or they pursue their own interests, as Russian officers do. The whole world knows that the person who should be responsible here is Putin, who widens the bleeding wound of his country and thinks of nothing but his own interests. A leader of a country could only be disgraced in the pages of history. The fact that Russian officers made a profit by selling military vehicle tires caused these vehicles to get stuck in the mud on the battlefield. Another fact denied by the Russians. Photographs of Russian military vehicles stuck in the mud surprised those who saw it. The Russians continue to sign scandals that will go down in history. Vehicle officials in the Russian armed forces not only sold the tires of the vehicles, but also preferred poor quality vehicle tires in order to get a share of the budget allocated for military vehicles. Ancient Russia is back on the scene. Known for their corruption, the Russian armed forces continue to commit all kinds of disgrace, ignoring that they are in a wartime. According to the Russian people, Putin is the biggest responsible for these events. Putin is now ignoring very important details, such as the lack of combat equipment and equipment of the Russian troops sent to the untrained fronts. Putin, who wants to make the Russian troops feel blindfolded on the battlefield, is at such a brutal level. The structure of the Russian armed forces has turned into a spiderweb because of these corruptions. The fact that the Russian soldiers even try to steal the budget allocated for the war reveals how deplorable the situation is. Even now, Putin's scandals continue unabated. Now trying to mislead the agenda with fake news, the Russian side has started to try every way to win the war. The fake news began to circulate on social media, supposedly containing Zelensky's warning to his people to lay down their arms. This sickeningly despicable fake news only discredits Putin and his army. Considering these efforts of Putin, it actually reveals how helpless and pathetic a leader is. The leader of a country that has no choice but the conspiracy, and the members of the army who are still chasing corruption, who still can't break with the old Soviet order, are slowly burying Russia in a deep pit. While the whole world is just watching with amazement, Putin and the Russian side have started to make preparations for the terrible end that awaits them. Does Putin know that the only solution is to overthrow himself? Do the Russians realize that the approaching terrible end will be screened like a movie showing the end of Putin's era, where everything is back to normal over time? The Russian people strongly want to know about them. The anti-war Russian section is now very bored with this situation. Uncertainty is like a disease that consumes people from the inside. Russia literally continues to finish itself from the inside like a cancerous cell. At the moment, it seems that the biggest cancer tissue for Russians is Putin. While Putin is putting his people and country into darkness with all the steps he has taken, the fact that he does not even realize these thoughts because of the thoughts of cancer patients clearly shows that the treatment for these thoughts is too late. Maybe the cure is too late for Putin, but there is always a chance for the anti-war Russian people. No matter what, the end of leaders and commanders who try to achieve victory by resorting to despicable methods in wartime has never changed. Having achieved the success of being one of these actors, Russian leader Putin began to publish disgusting fake news about the Ukrainian army and the Ukrainian President Zelensky in order to win the war. Using the intelligence service for intrigue, Putin shared the false statements from the mouth of Ukrainian President Zelensky on social media. Thousands of fake news that the war is progressing negatively for Ukraine continues to stir social media. Putin, who creates synthetic media for himself, resorts to such games because he despairs of the battlefield. On the other hand, the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, asked his people not to give credence to such fake news. This synthetic media perception operation carried out by the Russian side, which could not articulate the truth like the Ukrainians, failed to achieve its purpose. It is the only truth that the determined heroic Ukrainian fighters and the brave Ukrainian people will not give up the struggle no matter what. This terrible synthetic media threat, which even affects the outcome of the elections, is exactly an attack tool for Putin. The humiliation of a leader who has specialized training in the diplomatic and military fields was once again understood in front of the eyes of the whole world on the battlefield. With the support of the West, the Ukrainians can emerge victorious from this meaningless war with the support of the Russians' grave situation and the support of the separatist Russian anti-war people. Western authorities are also on the side of Ukraine in the all-out struggle for both Kherson and other occupied territories. They do not leave the Ukrainians alone in this matter and share all their support without hesitation. Western authorities, who declared that weapons and military aid will continue, have a large share in every region where Ukraine has achieved success. In addition, on the Moscow side, contrary to the Ukrainian part, it was announced by Western sources that things were going very badly and hopes for the war were exhausted. It is a well-known fact that the times are bad in Moscow, where the people's hatred towards the Kremlin grows day by day and the rebellions against Putin do not cease. Putin, who will eventually be defeated in this war, will not only destroy his army but also drag his people into the fire with him. Most of the people now hate Putin. An even worse period than Russia, the old land of dark corruption, seems to reappear after the war. While the Russians live in the fear of this, Putin does not care much about what the Russian people, his own people, think. Many journalists and war experts comment on Putin's moves with surprise. These war experts and journalists were astonished, like everyone else, that someone who had received specialized training on important issues such as war and intelligence could act so funny and thoughtless. Unable to prevent Europe's support for Ukraine, Russia is thinking of profiting from the war by creating an oil and gas crisis this time. Gazprom cut off gas flow to Europe is the biggest proof of this. The explanation from the Russian side is that there is a malfunction in the pipes. The center of the fault is the Portovaya compressor station around by Vyborg in the Baltic. Britain, on the other hand, stated that it would ban services such as insurance and financing for ships carrying Russian oil against all these developments. It seems that the Russian side, which continues to play dirty games, will not get what they want no matter what they do. We hope that the Ukrainians will liberate their occupied territories, including the Crimea. Thanks for watching.